The skill I have chosen is a back full. This is a 360-degree spinning backward flipping flip in a layout position. The purpose of this skill is for a skier to be able to complete this jump in a competition on one of two jumps in a mogul course. It takes many hours of practice to perfect this jump to be able to implement it flawlessly in between many bumps on a steep course. Here is a video of Canadian national team member Julian Vale completing a back full. In the first phase of the back full, you will be riding in the transition area of the jump. All your limbs should be extended except for flexion at the ankles and knees. Your arms should be straight above your head, being as narrow as possible towards your ears. This is called the preset position. You want to make sure you are forward, as mogul skiers say, with your line of gravity over your toes and no break in your line, meaning no bending at the hips. And the last thing is make sure you're looking forward. The takeoff is arguably the most important phase of this jump. At the very end of the jump, you want to be in a completely straight line from the tips of your hands all the way down to your ski boots. Your base of support should be underneath a straight body line. Your knees should be extended and the pop takes place. This position is, as it's called, to flat back. This is when you have done a 90-degree flip and your back is flat to the snow. You want to make sure your body stays completely straight until this point. At flat back is when you want to complete your first arm drop. This is what will cause the rotation. By dropping one arm 90 degrees to the side that you want to twist, it slightly alters the axis of your flip rotation to change the axis to spinning. This is how you begin twisting in a back full with tilt. The next phase is the second arm drop. Once your first arm is dropped, you will begin to twist. The second arm should be dropped to your side so that it goes down the same path as the first one. It will land at the side by the time you have spun 180 degrees. You should be completely upside down and straight at this point. You will stay in this locked position for another 90 degrees until you hit the 270. This is when your second arm that was dropped will begin to elevate to untilt your rotation and put your axis slightly back online. Your arm will either go straight up to the side of your head, like in the preset position, or out to the side, depending on how much rotation you have. The next phase is the landing. Keeping your body tight and spotting your landing, the skier will touch the snow and absorb the impact with their legs. There are many concepts of physics and biomechanical principles that apply to this skill. Firstly, before the takeoff, the principle of stability applies. Stability is defined as how much resistance athletes put up against having their balance disrupted. In this particular skill, athletes can increase their stability by widening their base of support, but not much wider than the width of their shoulders, and by shifting their line of gravity towards the oncoming force, or in this case, being more forward over your toes with your line of gravity. Next is the production of maximum force. This is during the takeoff. The production of maximum force requires the use of all possible joint movements that contribute to the task's objective. In this skill's case, that would be the ankle and the knees. The more range of motion a joint has, the more force it can produce, meaning that the more time you have to use full range of motion, the greater the impulse and force being applied. Because of this, it may seem beneficial to fully squat down before taking off the jump. However, the leg muscles are anatomically poor for this to happen. That is why the most flex you will see is about a quarter squat. Next principle is the direction of force application. In this case, you are applying force into the jump to propel yourself upwards. That is because movement usually occurs in the direction opposite of the force applied. This is closely related to Newton's third law of every action has a reaction. And the last principle on takeoff is the production of angular motion. I talked about producing rotation by solely tilt twisting. However, in almost every back full someone does, there will be a little bit of contact twisting that is called torque. This is just because it is almost impossible to get solely tilt twisting. When this torque happens, it produces angular motion. And that is defined as the application of a force acting at some distance from an axis. As you can see in the video, Julian's legs are slightly scissored as he is producing a little bit of contact twisting or torque. By applying a force with the outside leg and having your lever just from your leg to your center of axis, that will create a little bit of torque. In the air, the principle of conservation of angular momentum is working, which is angular momentum is constant when an individual or object is free in the air. The way people increase and decrease their spin is by repositioning their limbs, or in this case, tilting, to keep the same angular momentum but speeding it up and slowing it down with the untilt. The law of inertia will also apply while you're in the air, which states that every object will remain in a state of constant motion unless acted upon by an outside force. On the landing, the law of inertia comes into play because hitting the snow is the outside force in this case, causing you to stop. The law of reaction also comes into play because as you are applying force into the ground, force is applying into the body as the legs must absorb the impact. Here is a video of myself when first learning the back full. As you can see, the overall movement is there, but the technicality is not. This video shows the cognitive stage of motor learning as the back full looks choppy and I did not fully understand the mechanics of the jump or how to fix my errors at the time of recording. Errors that I was making included not staying tight enough, not staying forward enough, being my center of mass too far over my heels instead of my toes on the takeoff, incorrect pop timing / not enough force in the pop or the critical instance. There was incorrect hand movements and timing. I untilted with 2 hands instead of 1, and there was not enough angular motion created, thus forcing me to wrench my twist around instead of it looking natural. Some factors that were affecting my jumps included incorrect understanding of the movement, poor physical abilities, poor condition of movement, incorrect application of power, as well as possibly fatigue, nervousness, lack of focus, lack of motivation to improve, inability to apply corrections being made, and distractions such as random people talking to me, it being too hot outside, sun blocking my vision, or water sprinklers getting in my eyes. Some motor learning concepts the rookie could use, or in this case me, are 5 steps to improving skill performance, and getting a coach that can do the following: observing the skill, using knowledge of mechanics and analyzing individual parts of the skill, selecting the correct errors to be corrected, delivering corrections in a constructive and positive manner, allowing the athlete to accept feedback and trying to improve. The ideal coach should be constantly repeating these steps and changing wording or coaching styles to fit their athlete best. They should also be challenging all aspects of the athlete's body, including sensory and nervous systems, so the athlete can become accustomed to the nature of the activity, the environment, and the judgments needed to complete the skill. Psychological training like visualization, self-talk, regulation, and relaxation can also be implemented to augment athletes' mental performances, which in turn will enhance their physical skills. All these things will help the athlete progress in motor learning faster.
Look for the exit out of the top air. Back full, right back into it, demonstrating once again why he is the best the world has ever seen with that run. The back full up top.
And Pavel Kolmakov taking second with 83-13. Pavel Kolmakov, le Kazakh qui prend la deuxième place juste derrière Ben.
Je croise un de mes anciens potes, alors que le temps me presse. Un vieux, un ancien, un de ceux avec qui j'avais fait la promesse que jamais on se séparait, malgré le temps qui passe. Mais l'amitié s'affaisse, et face au temps s'efface. Et maintenant face à face, j'aimerais